So I'll give you a sneak peek on some of the different strategies that we have. So for example, how would you like to be able to use the same dollar twice?
Hmm.
How would you like to know that for every dollar that you have set aside and for every dollar that it gains, it continues to work and you can use that same dollar and leverage that in another way? You can either use that to replace working with a bank, or you could just simply use that to invest and create a spread.
I think you
That's
have
one strategy,
everybody's attention right now. Like,
right?
what? I have $1 and you're saying I can use it twice? What do you mean? Tell me more. Now they're on the edge of their seat.
So there are special tools that can be created using very specialized life insurance policies. So it's not just a regular life insurance policy. We typically start off with a whole life dividend paying policy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast. I hope you all are having a lovely day. As usual, I have an amazing guest for you. Now, by the power of networking, I meet some incredible people, and some of them are too cool for school. So that means I cannot contain them. I cannot bury them. I have to shout to the rooftops for everything it is that they do. Drum roll, please. Here's the deal. I met Cliff Morgan, and he changed the perspective that I had in a lot of things. And so today on Unveiling Journeys, we are going to hear his journey, how he got from where he was to what he's doing right now and more. So with that, tell me, Cliff, a little bit about what you do right now, and then let's hear the journey of how you got there.
So I do many things, but the easiest way to surmise what I do is I help people earn more with what they've got and keep more of what they have. And I started on this journey pretty much out of necessity. I was in corporate America for 20 years, the last company that I was with for 11. And during COVID, I found myself suddenly unemployed. And I had to reinvent myself. What am I going to do now? So I looked back at my history, what I'm good at, what I truly enjoy, and also what I'm not good at, because you don't want to go into something that, you're really not going to be proficient in or really enjoy. And I also spoke with a lot of my closest friends to figure out what would be good for me. And everyone said financial services. So that was the direction I chose to move into.
Financial services, that sounds pretty vague when I hear anybody say that, by the way. But here's the deal. Financial services can go all the way from like, oh, let me help you with this or let me help you with that. Now, if you didn't know, this can arrange itself to change the rest of your perspective on financial services. So I'm going to let Cliff go a little bit more in detail with what that feels like for him and what this is going to look like for you.
So I'll give you a sneak peek on some of the different strategies that we have. So for example, how would you like to be able to use the same dollar twice? How would you like to know that for every dollar that you have set aside and for every dollar that it gains, it continues to work and you can use that same dollar and leverage that in another way? You can either use that to replace working with a bank, or you could just simply use that to invest and create a spread.
I think you
That's
have
one
everybody's
strategy,
attention right now. Like,
right?
what? I have $1 and you're saying I can use it twice? What do you mean? Tell me more. Now they're on the edge of their seat.
So there are special tools that can be created using very specialized life insurance policies. So it's not just a regular life insurance policy. We typically start off with a whole life dividend paying policy. We structure it in such a way where we add a rider to it. It's called a PUA, paid up addition rider. And I don't want to get too much in the weeds on that. It's not really important. But when we do that, we actually reduce the amount that goes towards the policy itself and increase the amount that goes towards the cash value. And because of the way that a policy is taxed or lack of taxing due to Section 7702, there's no taxation on the growth of the money inside of a life insurance policy. So you can actually have that money grow inside the life insurance policy. You're not withdrawing the money out of it. You're borrowing against that policy. And you can never be denied for borrowing against that policy. You have first rights to anything you want to borrow from that. So if you wanted to buy a car, instead of going to the dealership and letting them tell you what options you have available, you simply go to your own bank and borrow your own money and do it. If you want to make an investment, instead of storing your money and then making the investment, and then it's not working in anything else other than the investment, then you could do that. But what we have is going to be significantly better. And if you're an entrepreneur like we are, we understand how hard it is to actually earn the money that we have. And when we spend it, it's gone. And we can't replace that without having to do the same things over again to replace that. What if we could actually earn that money once and have it go to work for us the rest of our lives, and then leverage that same money to do what we want to in life? That's what I give the people the ability to do.
This is incredible. And some people's minds are exploding right now. So tell me, how did you get to this? Like you don't just wake up and decide you're going to do this one day. So how did you get here? Like, tell us more about your journey in that.
Well, I got here because of some of the things that I had done, in my past, investing in real estate, doing some wholesaling, learning how to use a financial calculator very early on, which most people don't really understand how to do. It's so funny. I bought a car in a dealership. I'm not going to say which one or where, but I'm sitting across from the finance manager, and I'm like, let me just make sure these numbers make sense. So as he's telling me, I'm punching the numbers into my financial calculator, and I'm coming up with an extra $800 on the loan. So I said, okay, I'm coming up with an extra $800 on the loan. Help me figure this out. He says, well, I'm not sure what you're referring to. I'm just plugging my numbers in the computer. I said, okay, let's double check my numbers. So pull out your financial calculator. Let's run through the numbers together. He said, I don't have a financial calculator. I'm like, hold on a second. Let me make sure I understand this. You are the finance manager of a multi-million-dollar automotive dealership, and you don't have a financial calculator? And you could tell he was sweating. He's squirming in his seat.
Yeah.
And he says, no, I just used my computer. I said, you know what? That's okay. I brought my own. So here, let me show you how this works.
Did you whip out your 12C or your 10BII?
My 12C Platinum. So
yes. Yes.
I pulled that out and started punching my numbers in it and showing him. And it looked, he got glossy. He's probably never seen a financial calculator.
Like, yes.
So I go through it and I show him the numbers, and I'm like, look, I got an extra $800 in there. And he finally conceded, and he said, okay, we put extra things in your sale. And I'm like what? And he says, well, we added Scotch Guard, to all the interior of your car. I said, okay, so I live 3.5 hours away. So you're going to actually drive someone or have someone drive to me and actually apply the Scotch Guard 3.5 hours away. Oh, no, we're not going to do that. You'd have to schedule it. I said, well, I'm not coming back here. And I said, well, how practical is that for me being 3.5 hours away? And he says, okay, yeah, it's really not. And I said, well, what else is in there? He said, well, we put an undercoat on the car as well. I'm like, well, I don't live in an area that gets a lot of snow. No, I don't live next to the ocean, so there's not a lot of salt. And who's going to apply that? Are you guys doing that today? And again, he said, no, that's something you'd have to come back in for. And I said, why would you put these things in my deal? So a lot of what I do are things that I have learned along the way, and I help my clients understand, because this dealership was taking advantage of me through the purchase of my automobile. And most people let this happen because they don't understand money. They don't understand how money works. And I educate people. So I help people understand there's certain things that you do when you buy a car.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to go in the dealership and tell them I'm going to pay cash, because they may be willing, if they know they're going to finance it, they're going to do in-house financing. They may be willing to actually come off of the cost of the vehicle a little bit to give you a little bit more savings on that vehicle, but they're going to make up for that in the financing.
Right.
So people need to understand these little things that you do in your daily life. So these are things that I learned along the way. Found myself working with a group that sells commercial real estate. And when I first started with them, they were in an asset class in commercial real estate I had no familiarity with. So the only thing in commercial real estate I had ever raised capital for was multifamily. And when I started working with this other group, they said, well, we have something that is much better for our clients. And I said, okay, I'm willing to learn. So I was taught. So over 2 years, they introduced me to an entirely new world of commercial real estate I didn't understand even existed.
Wow.
And I gained the attention of a family office along the way. And they said, we want to meet this guy. Who's Cliff Morgan? We want to meet this guy. So I took a trip to their location where their family office is headquartered, and met them, and they
Take a
really
second.
liked.
Some people don't even know what a family office is. Can you explain what
Great
that is real
point.
quick?
Yeah. So a family office is a legal structure. It's recognized by our government and also the Internal Revenue Service. And it is a special structure that's designed for a family that wants to grow and preserve their wealth and create a legacy that can be passed down for many generations. And it does provide some tax benefits. So you don't have the high estate tax in passing down that wealth like most people normally would. And there's some other benefits that are in there too, not really going to get into. But in order to qualify for a family office today, you need to be liquid, $50 to $100 million. So it's not a small task to become a family office.
Thank you
So
for that definition.
absolutely. So I caught the attention of the family office, went there, and we actually hit it off quite well. And I started working more closely with the family office. I still work with them today. My mentor is a Centimillionaire. So I am exposed to a lot of strategies and thought processes most people have never heard of or have been exposed to. And it really is life-changing. And that's exciting for me because these are the things that I want to do. These are the things that I enjoy and I'm looking to do in my life, or I have already done. And I have an opportunity to expose other people to a lot of these things that have been made aware to the very wealthy that the average person doesn't know.
Great.
So some of the things that were originally taught in schools back in the 1940s, like how to calculate a yield on a bond, they're not in any textbook in high school now.
I don't
Not
remember
anywhere in public
doing that.
schools.
Right?
So yeah, and I believe, this is my opinion, that schools do that intentionally because they want people to become citizens, not entrepreneurs. So there are many things we're not taught that if we were taught, we could be so much more successful in life and accomplish so much more. And that's one of the things that I'm excited about doing is helping people understand what is out there, what else can be done. So there are tools that, people that are high income, I can put my clients into certain tools and I can reduce their taxes, usually at least an additional 75% beyond what their best CPAs can do, and fully utilizing the Internal Revenue Code. So we're not doing anything gray. There's no loopholes. We're just utilizing other aspects of the Internal Revenue Code that most aren't really aware how it can be used.
This is speaking volumes to some of those people that are still using like freeefile.com or TurboTax type situation. You got to have a CPA, because if you don't know what you don't know, then you're probably going to pay the bill for it. And I only want everybody, my entire audience, to ever, and friends and family, to pay your fair share. I don't want you to cheat the government. I'm going to do everything morally upright. I just want you to pay the amount that you're allowed to pay. And usually it's very little if you let somebody dive into the tax code for you. So you got to have a CPA in all of this. I also appreciate you said why you do this. This is what my heart is also. I want people to know that if they just took a little bit more time to research or homework, that you can expose stuff to them that previously was only available to the ultra wealthy. And that just a little bit of Googling, if you said the right words and the right key terms and we got you to the right videos, that you can be exposed to this and you could change your world forever. And that's why you're on the show today, because I want to hear how you got to where you're at. But you've showed us some of these vehicles that you're an expert in. Why, tell me this though, why does this mean so much to you?
I will say, I believe just about everyone in life goes through something significant that has created a significant financial setback in their life. That happened to me not so long ago. And it required me to start over again. No retirement in hand, no assets, no anything. In my own personal journey and my desire to want to have more and do more in my life, it put me on a path I never knew existed just by simply asking how. And when I asked myself how, I would seek out answers. And it's almost like the universe drew me to the right people to put me in the right places at the right time. And the things that I've now been made aware of and have been exposed to have changed my life. For example, this year, and we're in July, so in this calendar year, I've already traveled 10 weeks. I never would have been able to do that being in corporate America. And when I was in corporate America, I worked with a lot of Fortune 1000 companies, a handful of Fortune 500 companies as a consultant for a larger company. I was lucky if I could take 2 weeks off. So to be able to work for myself and find ways to generate enough income for myself and cover all of my needs and be able to travel 10 weeks is a dream. I was in California in March, and I was with a potential client, and I leased a really nice Porsche GT3. It's a street legal race car if you're not familiar with that. It's like a entry-level supercar.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
Right.
And he was my co-pilot. He probably wished he wasn't by the time we were done.
Right.
We drove through the mountain highways from Beverly Hills over to Malibu.
That's a fun stretch.
Right.
Right.
It was a great run through very hilly countryside. I've never been in a car that is more effective for straightening curves than that car.
Huh.
You know
That's
what I
a good way
mean?
to put it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I like my all-wheel drive cars that I've owned.
It was a lot of fun. And I was able to visit 3 wineries while I was in California. And I was there primarily for business. So the whole trip was business related, but you find a way to just kind of sprinkle in fun along the way. And the life I'm able to live now through understanding these secrets that have typically been reserved more for the wealthy has really opened my eyes. And it excites me to be able to share with other people the same things that I'm able to experience in my life.
I love it. Are there some extra nuggets or even just one amazing tip that you want to leave with everybody today that ends up getting to this moment in our podcast?
Extra nugget. I would say, if you're really not where you want to be yet and you want to understand what can take you to that next level, let's have a conversation. Because everyone's situation's different, and the nugget that each person would take away from this would be different. So I want to make sure I'm putting that best nugget in their pocket.
Right. So you're saying what it is, you could have a major benefit to have a conversation with somebody that has a perspective that's light years beyond the perspective that you thought that you had. Like one of the perspectives one of my mentors told me was like, hey, I think that you could do what you're doing in real estate way less intensive with no tenants and with, way stronger return. And I thought, wait a minute, I already knew what I was doing was great. You're telling me I have not achieved ultimate greatness yet. And boy, oh boy, just what you learn from people that you don't know. Take the time with the people who are willing to pour into you. So that way, everybody can have a moment. Now, what is the best way that everybody that's listening to this right now can come find you to have that time with you?
Sure. So I can be found most easily on LinkedIn. So if you search for Cliff Morgan Net Worth Accelerant, not accelerator, accelerant, ACCELERANT. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's a great way to connect with me, and I'm happy to work with you. We have some pretty neat projects that we're working on right now.
Is it anything that you want to give us a little hint about? Like what's next on the horizon? Like, what are you crushing right now that you want to share with everybody?
So the next big project that the family office is launching right now is out of St. Kitts, Nevis. So they purchased 252 acres on the island, pretty much the whole middle of the island. And they have contracted with a very large luxury resort brand, and construction will begin next summer. And the expected grand opening will be fourth quarter of 27. So it's still a U.S.-based opportunity, based out of Texas, but the funds will be utilized to actually grow that opportunity. And the returns that we provide are much better than what you typically see.
That's a whole nother conversation that somebody's going to say, wait a minute, I can be involved with you in some of these deals. I want to hear more about that. So that way everybody can reach out. That way you can change their idea and their perspective on the money that they're sitting on, the insurance policies that maybe they thought were crushing it and that aren't. You can change their ideas and shift their vision as to how what it looks like from somebody who had to start over with nothing, but at the same time, show them what they could do if they're sitting on something that they already have. And not to mention, right before we started this call, you said, Tiff, I hope your kids have policies. And I said, by golly, I do. I started them before they were 6 months old. They're set for life. You just put a little bit in now when they're younger, and now they're set for a wedding. They're set for college. They're set for retirement, even if they decide to go get a minimum wage job anywhere. So those are the kinds of conversations that if you have the right person in your back pocket, and by golly, you need to follow, you need to find, you need to friend and connect with Cliff, because he's generous in his time. He's willing to share what he knows. And the only way that he can enlighten you as to what's going to change your life is by taking one-on-one time, because just this like vague spewing out information that's out there sometimes isn't going to fit what it is that's with your portfolio. So I have a major, what do they call it, like 2 thumbs up, a stamp of approval. I've given him a golden recommendation on my most trusted. You guys have to connect with Cliff because you need to know him. So thank you so much for your time. I'm so grateful that you're able to come hang out with me. We know it's like the middle of summer right now. We're going to publish this here in a minute, but Cliff, I'm so excited for anybody that gets to be with you, meet with you, and that you get to help them gain. I hope that everybody took away what they could from this episode. And if you needed more, you know how to go find him. I'll post all the links below, everything where we publish this. And you guys have a great day. Bye. Signing off for now.
Thank you, Tiff.